All right, everybody, I think we're going to go ahead and get started. A few people might still join us. That's okay. They can always hop in as we get started. First off, I just want to introduce myself. My name is Madeline. You can also call me Maddie. And I am going to be the new Alumni Development Coordinator for NSHSS. I was newly hired in November, but due to the holidays, we haven't really had any events with me yet. So I just wanted to take a moment to introduce myself, say hello. I'm going to be doing a lot of work managing our leadership groups, specifically our fellows and our collegiate council. So if you have any questions, reach out to me. If you are, you can reach me at my email. It's just madeline.dunn@nshss.org or .org. So feel free to email me if you have any questions. And yeah, so you'll be seeing a lot more of me. And our event today is going to be the very first Wellness Wednesday. We're going to be hosting these monthly on the first Wednesday of every month. And each month is going to be a different topic relating to something about wellness. That could be physical health, mental health. It could be things about finances. It could be things about conflict management, leadership development, things of those sorts of professional development or personal development topics that we think could be of help to you all. And so our first event today is going to be about realistic goal setting. And I want to introduce our two panelists today that are going to be here talking with you about it. So Emily, do you want to just introduce yourself?
Yeah, hi everyone. I'm Emily and I'm the current Collegiate Council Executive Board President. It's so nice to meet you all and thank you all for coming out today. Just a little bit about me. I'm a current student at the University of Hawaii at Manoa, where I'm a senior studying communications. And I've done some internships having to do with public relations and also doing communications and press release work.
Awesome, thanks, Emily. All right, Helena, do you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, everyone. I am Helena Kaloma, and I am the NSHSS Collegiate Council Executive Board Vice President of Member Events, and I am a student at Harvard University, just recently transferred from UC Berkeley, where I'm majoring in biochemistry because my career goal is to be a military dentist. So I have a lot of STEM field expertise to bring.
Awesome. Thanks, Elena. All right. And so everybody, I want to start the first section of our workshop today. And I want it to be an open conversation between me and the panelists. So I'm going to put some questions out into the room. And as I'm asking these questions, we're going to have a conversation about how to set realistic goals. To start things off, I want to put out to our panelists the question, why do you think it's important? To start things off, why should you set your goals? Why is it an important thing to set your goals? Do either of you have any thoughts on that?
Well, I think as humans, we're very goal-oriented and that's how we stay motivated. And that's how we stay enjoying life, is by achieving our goals and feeling proud in those achievements. And so I think goal setting is about keeping yourself motivated and keeping yourself going and pushing forward. And I know that whenever I'm lacking motivation, I always make sure to just open up my journal where I have all my goals listed down, and it helps me remind me of what I'm working towards and reminds me of my future. So it's overall just very motivational to have.
Awesome. Yeah, Helena, do you have anything to add to that?
Yes, I do. So to kind of piggyback off of what Emily said, goal setting is very important in order to not overwhelm yourself. It helps keep both your mind and your body organized and keep yourself on task and not really stray from what you want to do. In terms of like you saying, like not getting overwhelmed, it's once you set goals for yourself, you're able to keep, your thoughts and everything organized.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love both of the points that you both brought up. This idea of keeping you motivated and also this idea of not getting overwhelmed. I think those are two really important pieces of that puzzle. And so my next question for you both would be to ask, okay, so goals are important. We know that they are, but what sorts of situations do you use goal planning for? What types of things do you think that you should plan ahead for?
I think that's the beauty of goal setting, is the fact that you can use it for anything. You know, I use goal setting for academics, for my personal life, for my professional life. You know, I specifically, especially now as a student that's moving on into her master's degree and starting kind of a professional career, a lot of mine has been geared towards just gaining new experiences within the workplace, and then also with keeping up with my academics. So I think it really has to do with what situation that you're in right now, and also like where you see yourself in the future. So that's really the beauty of goal setting.
Yeah, I agree. In terms of academics, I'd say in school when you have projects or deadlines coming up for assignments, knowing the goals of the specific project or what the assignment is asking for, it's going to help, like what Emily said, motivate you and understand what is being asked of you and how to apply yourself and apply your strengths, and then, you know, recognize where your weaknesses are too. Um, so that's why, like, knowing what the goals are of what's being asked of you, and then also setting your own personal goals of what you want to accomplish at the end of it, either at the end of the assignment, at the end of the project, or even, you know, as you're venturing out and applying for jobs or looking into what careers you want to go into, you're going to be able to narrow down what your strengths are, and then, you know, maybe even discover what your weaknesses might be and further develop them so they work better to your advantage.
Yeah, I like that idea of thinking about what's being asked of you, what are the goals of the things you have to get done, and then that point about almost breaking it up into sub goals, thinking about, okay, I know this overarching thing that I need to do, but what are the smaller bits that make it possible for me to accomplish that? I like that idea a lot. So thinking about that, do either of you have I guess, a specific way that you go about goal planning? Do you use like a planner? Do you use like a web bubble? Kind of like, what's your thinking? How do you physically go about like that processing of setting your goals?
Well, I like to write things down physically. There's something about writing it down that makes it feel a lot more personal to you. And especially being able to see your goals and visualizing it. One thing that I started to do was create these vision boards. And vision boards are really important because they help you visualize what you want your life to look like. And you can put quotes within those vision boards, or put your dream car, your dream house, your dream university that you want to go to. And the aim of that is to be able to put it up someplace where you wake up and that you're able to see this vision board somewhere within your room. And again, it's there to motivate you and make sure that, you know, you realize that what's in your future. Because I think that sometimes with goal setting, you know, we set goals within the start of the year, but then halfway through the year, we lose a lot of steam and we lose a lot of that motivation. But actually being able to see your goals and your dreams physically there through photos can really help motivate you and just help you visualize your future and what you want for yourself. So that's really important.
From my personal experience, I've benefited from using a planner, both a, you know, like a hard copy one, and you can just get like a very cheap one from the store, or also using my phone, utilizing like Apple Calendar, Google Calendar, whatever apps you might have. You know, I suggest you looking into any free ones as well too. And also what's great with those is you can set reminders for yourself. If you struggle with like, okay, I need to check, you know, my planner, my hard copy planner, or if you've misplaced it, most of the time you have your phone, you know, you'll have the reminders for that, which is, and I guess another thing too, is if you write down what you need to do on two separate things, like what Emily said, where you know you're going to see it all the time, it's going to help kind of train your brain into always checking them, and also to train your memory into, you know, keeping track of these things. So putting it down on your phone or your planner, or if you prefer one over the other, that works great as well too. And then maybe even telling like a close family friend or or even a family member I have this project coming up, or I have this job application I really need to do. Telling someone where you know they're going to help hold you accountable for it. It's like, again, it's nice to also have a kind of support system who's going to help you instead of always like, okay, I have to take care of this, I have to take care of that. But having someone who's going to remind you as well too, it'll help.
Yeah, I like both of your ideas. That idea of multiple options. We've got collage ideas. We've got for people who are more visual or creative. And we've also gotten like writing out for people who are more like systematic. My brain tends to be more systematic, so that system works for me. In the past, when I was in college, I used Google Tasks quite a bit to think about my goals for different courses. When I was in college, I managed a TEDx organization. And so I used to help host TED events, TEDx events. And so to think about all of the big main goals and then the smaller little tiny tasks and pieces, I definitely think that thinking about those things is highly important, no matter what way you choose to do it that works for you. I love that. Awesome. And so to kind of make it more tangible for us all, can either of you give an example of a time that you set goals and like what was your overall goal? And how did you come to the conclusion of how you were gonna write that out and plan it, I guess?
Yeah, so my goal for every semester, as I said, I'm a student and I'm now a senior, is to get a 4.0 GPA. And that's mainly because, I'm working towards getting my master's degree, and I do want to go to my dream program, which is USC. And I saw the requirements, everything that I need to do to stand out. And I knew that getting a 4.0 GPA would really help me get there. So last semester, I set that goal for myself, and I decided to look at all my syllabuses and make sure that I knew every single deadline for every single assignment, every single discussion post, every single project that I needed to do. And I wrote them all out in my calendar. And this made it super easy to obtain goals, because I think especially in school, it's very important to be able to stay on top of work. And that's where most people lose points, is through missing assignments, missing discussion posts, or even late assignments. And so that really helped me stay on top of all my work and made sure that I was not only getting my work done on time, but that I was leaving enough time to do all my work with quality. And so I'm not rushing it. And that really has helped me achieve that goal of getting a 4.0 GPA throughout all my semesters of high school and college. So that's really the biggest advice that I have, especially for academic goal setting.
So a situation where I've had to utilize my goal setting, I'm going to incorporate for both like scholarship and internship applications. So recently when I was applying for scholarships and for the recent internship that I'm in right now, things I had to do is I had to see what the guidelines and requirements were for, both things. I had to see what the ones were for the scholarships and for the internships. I had to see what they were looking for in their applicants. And I also had to see what were they looking for, say if I had won or if I got awarded it. I needed to see if I can put in the time and the effort beforehand, and also if I'll be able to after. That helped me during the process of it, because I was able to see like, okay, I need to space out my time in between this, and let me check my schedule. Let me see where I could, fit this in, working on it. That kind of helps me see like the short term and long term. I think like one of the main things to see is to kind of analyze, is this going to be like a long term thing I'm going to work on? Is this a long term goal, or is it a short term goal? And then you can kind of adjust your schedule and your mindset, towards that. If it's short term, humans, like, we tend to be like, okay, well, we can do this, we can take care of this. But long term, things come up, situations come up, and you may get, a little swayed along the way. So just kind of keeping those in mind, if it's short term or long term, and what's being asked of you. Again, refer back to what I was saying. And then, what's being asked of you before and after the processes, and then it'll help you during it while you're applying.
I love that. And I love that both of you started talking about things to consider when you're planning your goals. That whole idea of, is this short term? Is this long term? What are the time costs? Do I have the cognitive or mental resources for this? Do I have all of those types of things? So I guess when you are planning your goals, what are like the top considerations, those external constraints, I guess I would say? What are the things that you think about when you're setting your goals or planning your goals? And I know that can be dependent on the goal itself, but let's talk in terms of academic goals. An academic goal, what are things that you would consider?
Well, I think the most important thing that you have to keep in mind when setting goals is that there's not necessarily always a time limit of when you need to achieve those goals. And I think when I was first setting goals for myself and first learning about planning out your goals, I often thought that, there had to be a time limit of when I needed to achieve something, or I immediately deemed myself a failure. But it's really important to realize that even if you set a goal to complete at the end of this year and you don't complete it, that doesn't mean that you're a failure, and that doesn't mean that you should beat yourself up for it. It just means that, some things take longer, and I know that all good things come with time. So it's really important to, yes, work towards your goals, work hard, make sure that you do set deadlines for yourself, but also realizing that that can be flexible. And that applies to most goals. I mean, obviously some goals like getting a 4.0 at the end of the semester ends at the end of the semester. But realistically for most goals, you don't want to get in a negative mindset, because that's going to make you not want to achieve those goals and not be motivated. You just have to be optimistic and keep an open mind, and just know that success and your achievements can't be timed. But everything happens for a reason, and all good things you got to wait for sometimes.
When setting goals, I think some main characteristics I've seen come up is making sure it's reasonable. Reasonable, realistic, meaning, I really want to do well in this class, but like again, this is just an example. I really want to do well in this class, but you have like 1 week left of the semester and you're already feeling pretty far behind. So you got to set like realistic, reasonable goals, in that like what kind of planning out what you want to do that. And then also another thing is making sure what you want to do, it's something that you can do. And if it is going to be challenging, are you ready to like rise up to the challenge for that? Another example that's not really related to academics is your physical health, right? You really want to work out, and you are really interested in working out like 5 days a week. You probably don't want to do it on days where you're going to be super busy with classes, or else you're just going to be super overwhelmed. And at the end of the day, school comes first, and you don't want things to get in the way of your studies, but you also want to prioritize your physical health and well-being as well. So you want to make sure that what you want to do, it's something you can do, and if it's something if it's going to challenge you, that you know the steps on what to do and how to get there, and know how to rise up to it, and just be ready to see yourself grow.
Yeah, I love both of the points that you both brought up there. I think that it was very well said, very well spoken. And I like this idea of being kind to yourself when setting goals, because you are young professionals out in this world, and you are not going to be an expert. I am not an expert. Granted, I am only 23, but no one is truly an expert at anything. And I think that's one of the best things that you can learn, is that everyone still has room to grow no matter where they are in their life. And so just meet yourself with kindness and understanding. And I always say, put in a little wiggle room in your goals. Add in time. I once did an internship where they asked me to set up my entire timeline. It was a very much build your own adventure type of situation. And so when I was creating my goals for each week, I was very transparent in saying, something may come up that is out of my control. It was in the midst of when the pandemic first hit, and they were very receptive to that. And they said, I think this is fantastic that you've thought enough to add this wiggle room. And I ended up having an extra week at the end where I was able to pull in all of the work that I'd done, create a fantastic final project, and share it with them. And they still to this day have used parts of it for their new interns. So I would say, think about that. Think about being flexible. Think about all of the constraints that are on you, whether it be physical, financial, your mental health. All of those things are very important and are things that deserve equal weight. More than being the most, I guess, achiever, the highest achiever that you can be. Sometimes the highest achievers also need to take a moment for themselves. And I would say those who truly are high achievers do take moments for themselves. All right, everybody. And I just wanted to give a shout out really quick because I had sent out a survey to some of our leadership groups to ask them what they thought our members needed to learn about the most, the top concepts and professional development things that young people need. And so when I got this idea for this workshop from one of our members, her name was, and I'm so sorry if I am mispronouncing names, but I believe it was Naomi Cote. So Naomi, if you are here or gonna watch this video, I just wanted to put out a quick shout out and say thank you for your input and for filling out our survey because it was a great help. All right, everybody. So when I was preparing for this workshop, I went ahead and I put together a quick document that I'm going to put in the chat. If you don't see it, I just put the link in there. That link is going to have a document with a quick little overview of how to set goals. I put a bunch of different resources that I've looked at that I think are easily digestible, and feel free to use those resources when you're thinking about goal setting. And to learn a little bit more about it, there's a little information about SMART goals. It's specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-based. That's how they explain goal setting. And then as you go further down, there's going to be a lot of resources. I might have gone a little overboard with the resources, but there's a ton there. So I hope that it's not lacking. But feel free to peruse through that document at any point. Feel free to save that to your own Google Drive if you would like. And the next thing that I want to share with you is a template of a worksheet that you can print out, or you can also use it on your computer. I put some like a comment with some instructions on how I've used things like that, PDFs in the past to edit on in a web browser. But you could download that and write on it with your hand if you like to write with your hand better. And it's a template for how you could kind of set your goals if that is something that you would also want. And so for the rest of our time together, I want to take the next 3 minutes, and I want us all to sit quietly, and I want us to think about what is a couple of goals that we want to set for this year, for 2022. It's the new beginning of the year, so I don't know if this is still a saying, but like the new year, new me type of thing. So I want us all to sit here for 3 minutes and think about what goals we want to set, and then we'll come back together. All right, everybody, I'm going to have us all come back. And I would like you all to, if you feel comfortable, put your goal, at least one goal, in the chat and send it to us. The chat is currently set, so only me and the panelists can see your answers. So if you're worried about a lot of people seeing it, it's only me and Helena and Emily can see it. But how about you all share your goals for this year? I like it. I'm seeing a lot of common themes. I'm seeing things about physical health, working out, drinking water. I'm seeing things about grades or SAT scores. I'm seeing a lot about graduating, being involved in your communities, different things like that. And they're fantastic. I love all of your goals. I think these are all fantastic starts to goal setting. Yeah. Awesome. Thanks for sharing, everybody. And feel free to keep sending them in there. I genuinely do want to see all your goals. I'm always curious to see what people are planning throughout the year. All right. And so everyone, I want to open up the room. If anyone has a question that they would like to ask about goal setting, feel free to unmute and ask us. We are happy to answer any questions. Also, if you would like to try setting your goals, if you'd like to try sitting down and writing out your goals in the next 15 to 30 minutes, we're going to be here. So if you would all like to ask any questions or try writing your goals and ask questions as they come up, now is the time to do so. So feel free to unmute and ask any questions you have.
How do you stay motivated when trying to achieve a goal?
I think one way to do that is realizing and recognizing whether your goal is tangible or not. I think sometimes when we look at goals that are too far out in our future, we tend to lose motivation. Like, for example, one of my goals for the next 2 years or so is to move out, as I'm getting older now and starting to get my own career, and it's coming up. But, sometimes I feel really a lack of motivation to do anything because it's so far out into the year and I don't see a direct plan and I don't see how that is tangible within this year, within the next couple of months. So I think always making sure that you have a plan of how you're going to obtain that goal is really important. So for example, one goal that I'm really motivated to do right now is to be able to get a job as an office manager at our state capitol. And I know that this is tangible because this year is an election year for the House of Representatives. And I know that it's a great chance for me to look up different job openings. And also because I intern for the state capitol, it's really a great time for me to build connections there and for me to be able to get that dream job. So overall, it's just always having not only the goal, but how you're going to achieve the goal in mind.
Another way that, at least for me to stay motivated is I look for support from people who are accomplished or successful in the goals that I'm setting. So that whether that be, forming study groups with my classmates who are also, on the same career path as me or on the path that I also want to pursue, having their kind of like motivation, encouragement helps me a lot. As well as too, you can look at any like public figures who are, successful in the respective fields that you're looking for, whether that be in, academics, in career, or anything like personal, like fitness, anything pertaining to your well-being. I feel like just seeing and knowing that there are people out there who are able to do it, I feel like it's kind of like inspiring and uplifting to kind of like then see that and say, hey, if they can do it, I can do it too. I remember when I was first learning how to drive, I was so scared to get out on the open road. And I remember like my driving instructor said, if everyone else can pass, so can you. And that's what really helped me, just kind of knowing if other people can do it, and people who tend to be successful or accomplished in their fields, most times they also want to help fellow people with that too.
When it comes to setting goals, how do you determine like short-term goals versus long-term goals?
I'm gonna say also by seeing how tangible they are. Like for example, if you have a project, a final project, or if you have a project that's somewhere within your midterm range of your school, I think it's always important to keep that in your planner and make sure that you're working towards the midterm project before the final project. I think that with me, in the past, what I used to do was work on the hardest project first, even though it had the furthest due date. And then that meant I was rushing on all the other projects that had a closer due date because I thought that they were easier. When in reality, I don't think that's how you should necessarily be prioritizing your goals and your study goals. So always work on stuff that has a due date first, but that doesn't mean that you can't work on two things at the same time or think about the future and make sure that you're studying for concepts in your final exam or for a final project. So yeah, overall keeping a planner is super important, just like making sure that you know what dates you want to start on your project, you want to end on your project. You always want to give at least 2 days of submitting your project before the due date happens, just in case there's any technical difficulties or there's anything that gets wiped from your computer. You always want to make sure to just be prepared.
Yeah, I
Thank
think,
you. Oh, go ahead.
oh no, sorry, it's okay. I just want to say, I think, figuring out what's a short-term or a long-term goal, kind of comes down to, like what Emily was mentioning with prioritizing. You can also see, just like looking at it wise, like instead of like focusing, okay, this is something I have to do, just kind of like take a breath and like look at it and see how long is this going to take me. And if there's any deadlines associated with it, then you're able to tell if it's a short term or long term. I would say like a short term is something that takes like days to like a couple months. Anything that's long term is like, I would say like weeks to maybe like months or even years in that sense. Like for instance, if you say like I want to get an A in this class, I would say that's like kind of in between short and long term, more long term, because that's probably going to take you like a semester. But if you're on a quarter system, that's a little differently. But if you say like I want to be a doctor, I want to be a medical doctor, that's a long term goal, like for sure. But you can take a look at it and see like is this something like I can kind of like do within a couple of days or a couple of months. And like what Emily was mentioning, if you have like a bunch of like little deadlines to do versus like one big deadline, which is going to take a lot of work, just kind of like work on it a little bit each day, the one that has like a longer deadline. Because if you save that towards the end, you're just going to realize like this is why it has a longer deadline. It's because it needs that length of time just to complete it. And so if you're condensing it all at once, you're gonna feel as if like, okay, I should have definitely spent more time on this. This is why it had such a longer time.
Yeah, and
Thanks for
I love.
thanks from both y'all.
Sorry, Angel. And a point that I would like to make about something that helped me with goals when I was in college. I graduated in 2021. I was a big fan of micro planning. I would use Google Calendar and I would plan out specific blocks in my day in my calendar that would say when my classes were, when I would be going to the library to work on specific projects, and then also when I would take mental health breaks, when I would be taking time for myself. It was scheduled. I didn't always stick to the schedule completely, but it helped me to kind of figure out, okay, this is the amount of time that I have to work on these things. How can I make this work? And it also helped me to be realistic and to say, okay, I had planned to do 3 hours of work today on this specific project, but that's not realistic. So I need to break it up into smaller pieces. And it also helped me to see my limits, to see what I was capable of doing. So that's another thing that I'll kind of put out into the room as helped me. And I think I saw another hand up, so I'm gonna mute and let you all speak.
Hi. So I'm not really sure if this will make sense. So like some of the goals that we have are like goals that we make because of like some like passion we have or like we really want to learn something. But other goals are because of like society's expectations or like family stuff. And like it's sometimes hard to the difference between the two if like you want to do something or if you feel like you just have to do something. And like it's a lot easier to get motivation to do something that you want to do than you don't want to do. So like how do you really navigate that area if this makes sense?
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. And thank you so much for asking that and bringing that up. Because that's something that I wanted to talk about is like differentiating the goals that your parents or that society has for you versus the goals that you have for yourself. And I think the biggest distinction between those two is, you know, when you look at your goals, do they make you happy and excited for the future? Or do they make you unmotivated? Do they make you sad? Do they make you anxious? And of course, feeling some kind of nervousness and anxiety for your future is normal. But does it make you feel an excess amount of anxiety is kind of the question. And it's always, you know, just remembering that if they're your goals, that they would make you feel happy and excited for your future. So for example, you know, being a communications student, and wanting to work with spreadsheets and wanting to work with graphics, that's something that makes me happy and that's something that I enjoy doing because it's something that I can work from home, work in an office, have a good work to life balance. Versus, you know, if my parents told me that I needed to go to school and be a doctor, you know, I would be really, I'd be really anxious and nervous for my future because that's not something that I genuinely want to do and I genuinely feel passionate about. And obviously that's opposite for some people. Some people want to become doctors and want to help save lives and want to help their patients. And you know, that's super admirable. And that's the thing about being a human being is that we all have our own goals and aspirations. And I think realizing that it's not fair for your parents or for society to put pressure on you and realizing, you know, sometimes as parents, they put goals on you and these pressures because they want the best for you. And I know that my parents were like that too, but sometimes it's, you know, following your own passions and following your own goals and letting your parents see that that's genuinely what makes you happy. And that's when you succeed the most, is when you're happiest and when you're going out there and actually seeking out opportunities, is the best for you. So I hope that really helps. Just, you know, follow and pursue what makes you happy and makes you excited for your future and your goals in life.
I agree. You gotta kind of have to like love what you do, or you have to love some kind of aspect in it. Because if you're not motivated, then you're gonna feel like you not really have much to contribute. But you know, like I feel like all of us have had that, especially from hearing things from our parents, our guardians, or even from teachers. They have expectations upon us, and you know, we're all human. We want, you know, there's like a hidden like innate desire. We want to just, you know, please everyone and make everyone happy. But at the end of the day, if you're not happy, then it's going to be very difficult to make everyone else happy. But some like things that that definitely help with that is depending if you're in high school or if you're in college, there, you know, there are your advisors, there are your counselors, because you know you're not alone in it. Everyone has had that. Everyone has different upbringings. There's some people that have like a great support system, and there's others that just don't. At the end of the day, you know, your school where you're at, they want to see you succeed. So just reaching out to them and asking, what is there something I can do? You know, and like surrounding yourself with people that, you know, share like-minded interests as you. They can help keep you on track, because more times out of 10, they're also going through the same things. Like for a group of students that want to be doctors, they're probably very stressed. And then same with students who want to be scientists, researchers, or, you know, they're probably going through the same thing as well too. So just finding a good support system, and, you know, they could be in places where you never expected.
Can you hear me? Okay, sorry. So I'm in high school right now, and I am like super stressed about getting accepted into college. So do you have any advice to maybe like just kind of tone down the stress? Because I know there will be some, but any advice on what you guys did to just kind of settle like your nerves and everything about it?
Yeah, so I think this is where goal setting comes in our personal life. So for me, during the time of college admissions, I was super stressed out. So what I did was I set some personal goals for myself, whether that was, going out for a walk with my dog, because I know that, physical exercise and going outside, getting fresh air, and I knew that my dog also made me super happy. So that was a goal that I had for myself every single day. And I knew that, after I closed my laptop, I finished all my applications for the day. In the afternoon, I would go out for a walk with my dog, and we'd go out for like a 2-mile walk. And that's when I knew that it was time to wind down for my day and stop stressing out and thinking about things that are sometimes out of my control. Because, once you submit your application, the thing that is in your control, the decisions themselves are out of your control. And, everything does happen for a reason, as I mentioned earlier on. So yeah, just definitely goal setting within your personal life. It doesn't even have to be exercise. It can be running yourself a nice bath every other day, buying some new bath bombs, face masks, and even to eat healthy as well, because I think eating has a lot to do with your body and mind connection. So really just taking care of yourself and setting those personal goals is super important during this time. So I wish you the best.
You can also talk to your classmates about it. They're probably also going through the same thing as you. Within here at NSHSS, we have a lot of other students who are in high school, and they're also, awaiting college decisions, or, they were in the process of it. So, like I always go back to that, but finding like a support system that'll help you. And then in terms of like what you can do, if there's like a college that you do get into or you don't get into, you can just learn more about them. Sometimes reminding yourself, why am I applying to this place? I'm so anxious about this, but like just reminding yourself it's what, you're going to bring to the college at the end of the day. And it's not the end of the world if you like don't get into your top one, because there are so many places out there looking for students like you, like looking for like students like all of you who are here, who are interested in goal setting, who are, part of this, part of NSHSS, and, just want to, help out the world and make a difference. Yeah, and like some things is like, like my favorite line is like, just to treat yourself. You guys went through a lot with college applications. I know how it is. I know how stressful it is. So utilizing your time, your time off to just kind of treat yourself. And this is the time to, you're not going to see your classmates once you graduate, or some of them. So this is the time to just hang out with each other. And they're also going through the same thing as you. It's also confiding in them as well too. Because they understand what you're feeling. And I feel like you guys can give each other feedback, more personal feedback on how you're feeling. I think that'll help.
Yeah, and I'd also like to put a little plug in there. If you are in high school and you join our leadership group of ambassadors, we actually have a Slack channel that the ambassadors, all of our ambassadors can join. And oftentimes people who are in that ambassadors chat can use that as a resource to talk about it. Be like, oh, I'm applying to college right now. Who else is? Or I just got accepted into like my dream school. This is amazing. And I've seen some really cool stuff happening on there. And that chat also has connections with our collegiate groups and our fellows who are alumni in the workforce, in real life. So if you want to kind of have that support system that you don't currently have, you could join our ambassador group and become one of those people who have access to that. Plug over, but I just wanted to put that in there. It is a thing that you could do.
The PACT, and I didn't do so well. What advice would you give me to have to better prepare for it?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't do very well on my pre-SAT either. So one thing that I did was I just continued to use any materials that are online. Khan Academy is really good because they take actual questions from the SATs, the previous SATs, and then they use it in a test that you can take online. And I believe it's free. It's what I use. But also NSHSS has a lot of coaching websites and like people that they sponsor with, and you can get discounts and you can get a coach that way. But really just like studying and doing your best is the most important thing. And obviously, if you don't do as well on your SAT, you can always retake it again a couple of times. But my other advice for you would also be to keep up your GPA. You know, if you're lacking in one area, just make sure the other area is a lot better than that area. So that's definitely what I did as well, was I had a 4.0 GPA and then I had a 4.48 weighted GPA throughout my high school career. Yeah, so really just playing up other areas like your GPA, your extracurricular activity, you know, going out there and volunteering and getting involved within your school can also be really important. And then also I just want to put out there, a test doesn't define your abilities. It's literally a 4-hour test where you sit there and just answer questions the entire time. And I just want to let everyone know that that doesn't define you as a person or your ability to do well in school. I know a whole bunch of people who didn't do well on their SATs and now work for government companies, work for the CIA. So yeah, that really doesn't determine who you are.
Yeah, what's great about when you actually take the SATs is you can retake them as many times as you like. Yes, there's like a fee involved for each time, so keep that in mind. But you can keep retaking it till you get a score that you like. And then, you know, when you're applying for colleges and such, you can look at what their what kind of SAT scores that they're asking for. Another thing is though, identifying what areas in the SAT that you didn't do too well in and practicing those. And when I say practicing, like really utilize the actual practice tests that they have from them, because they do pull material from old ones, from previous ones. So just like practicing on those areas, whether it be the English portion or the math portion, and kind of strengthening your scores in every aspect of it. Because we had this like one student in my high school, they just did like remarkably well on one part, but they just did very poorly on the other one. But instead of them like focusing only on the one that they did really well in, they also improved their score in the other one, and they had a very high SAT score, because at the end of the day, it's all kind of like weighted around the same for the score. So just seeing which parts you didn't do too well in, and then really practicing it. Practice it by hand too, because you want to get the timing of it down, because it is a time test, but you want to make sure you're pacing yourself right. And then utilizing those SAT prep, you know, workshops and organizations that specialize in those, that NSHSS that we work with, because there is like a pattern with SATs, and the more you take it, you're going to kind of like recognize and see the pattern it is to taking it. But ACT is a completely different story.
We've got about 5 minutes left. If anybody has any questions, feel free to put them out in the room. But you've got about 5 minutes.
What do you do when?
Yeah, we can
You
answer
can go
both
ahead.
of those. You want to go first? Yeah, I just heard somebody speaking.
My question was, what do you do when you have unfortunately failed your?
Oh, sorry, I think you cut off for me.
Yeah, we didn't quite hear you. Could you repeat that?
Okay, sorry. What do you do when you have unfortunately failed your goal that you have set for yourself?
I think sometimes, like, as I said earlier, everything happens for a reason. And you know, when I was applying for colleges, there were some colleges that I didn't get into and that I was like super disappointed about. And I thought that I had failed my goal. But in reality, you know, when one door closes, another one opens. And I think it's all about redirection in your life. And I was super disappointed that I didn't, you know, get to go to California, because it was, you know, my dream place to go to school. Instead, I had to stay in Hawaii, and I was super disappointed about it. But now looking back at it, if I went to California, I would not have gotten all these opportunities to be able to intern under a government organization and, hopefully be able to work for there later on. So it's definitely, it redirects you. But then also realizing that just because you don't finish a goal within the set amount of time that you have, that doesn't make you a failure. It just means that you need to extend the time period that you have for that goal. So really just look at it in an optimistic way. You can't think that you failed something, or else, you're not going to be motivated to set any other goals for yourself. And just know that there's ups and downs in life. Everybody has, not everything is high for everyone, all the time. And even the most successful people in this world have had failures and had downs in their lives.
If you find yourself that you, didn't get the results from a goal that you set that you initially had planned for, just set a new goal, and then, see from there, what was it from my old goal that I didn't do, or I should have, kind of also included in there. Like, let's just say, for instance, I really wanted an A in this class, and you find that you didn't get an A. You can kind of like look and see, maybe it's because I didn't study enough for this one material, or maybe it's because like I didn't study at all. And again, this is just a hypothetical, but kind of like analyzing, what happened, like what lessons you can take from it, and then just set a new goal. Like, just got to keep moving on and keep persevering. But and sometimes it's just how it works. You just got to learn from the last thing and just keep moving forward.
What do you do when you're facing burnout? When trying to achieve one of your goals, like the path that you have taken and are taking just isn't working out, and you realize that you're falling short of the goal.
Yeah, I think we've all been a victim to burnout. And from what I've learned throughout all the years that I felt burnt out and just felt like I needed to carry through, is that burnout happens when you push yourself too hard and you don't give yourself enough breaks. In order to be successful, you yourself need to be a happy person. You need to be motivated. You need to enjoy what you do. And if you're doing that thing every single day and always setting these routines for yourself and these high expectations for yourself, that's how you get burnt out. So I think that it's really important to also have rest days, and that should be in your goal, in your goals for this year, is to have more rest days and take more rests. But not only that, I think when we tend to have rest days and have these days where we're just relaxing and doing nothing, we feel really guilty because we're not achieving anything. When in reality, we are achieving things. We're letting our minds rest for a moment. We're letting our bodies rest for a moment. And so I would say just really let yourself rest in those moments. Do not overthink about other things. Do not feel like you're taking up space or that you're wasting time. Just really let yourself relax and feel the calm. So I really hope that helps.
You can kind of take a look and see like what your progress is so far and like what you did accomplish, and like like you can be humble, reward yourself, congratulate yourself for the things that you were able to get done. Burnout happens to everyone. Making sure you get enough sleep. I know there's a lot of times where we're all students, there's a lot of times when we have to study really late. Kind of practicing, if you have something you need to do, try to like practice doing a little bit of it every day, whether that be for your academics with studying, or something for work, or for scholarships, internships, for anything. Just doing a little bit of it every day. And then also to kind of reminding and asking yourself, is this something I still want to do? And if so, okay, then what can I do to kind of like further motivate myself again? Don't be afraid to take some time for yourself too. I know we're all busy. Don't be afraid to take some time for yourself too. Just to kind of like reward yourself and congratulate yourself for all the work that you have done, instead of only focusing on all the things that you didn't do or you could have done.
That was awesome. Thank you for both of your responses to that question and all of the questions. And everyone, if you have any further questions, feel free to reach out. I sent in those resources documents. If you're late to the chat, I'm going to send them again now. these are some documents that have some resources about setting goals. And it's also a template for how you could set goals to kind of give you some framework if that's helpful. But for now, we've reached the end of our time together. And I wanted to thank you all for taking an hour out of your day to come join us. I really enjoyed this, and I enjoyed seeing everybody and hearing your thoughts. And if you want to learn more about goal setting or topics like time management or burnout or procrastination, we're going to be hosting Wellness Wednesdays every month, the first Wednesday of every month. And we're going to have different and new and sometimes the same speakers probably. So you're going to be meeting a whole lot of more people who have a lot of expertise. So keep an eye out for those email communications and things like that with that information. And we're also this month going to be hosting a mentor roundtable. It's going to be an event about mentorship, learning about the power of mentor relationships, and that's going to be held on January 26th at 7 p.m. Eastern. So keep an eye out for those communications, sign up for that one. That one's going to have, I think, somewhere around 10 different mentors for you all to ask questions. So definitely put that on your calendar. And we also have a lot of webinars on a variety of topics on our website at NSHSS, our website. And I put the link to that website in the resources document. And there's a link in there to see past webinars that we've hosted where you can learn more about different things. But for now, I don't want to take up any more of your time. I know we've gone 2 minutes over. So I will leave it there. Thank you so much for coming tonight. And I hope you all have a wonderful evening and a great week. It's almost Friday. We've almost made it. All right, everybody. Bye.